at 43 and a half. Okay, you see this waving of the arms and the woo-hoo. You're with, like, look at this face. Well, don't look too closely because I've just, given myself a Cuban dry clean and thrown on a quick makeup job because this is the face of the happiest girl in the world. Happiest girl in the world. Why? Number one, today is one of my 5 favorite days of the year. Literally one of my 5. I love my birthday. I love Christmas Eve. I love Thanksgiving. I love New Year's Eve. I actually love Christmas Day. Okay, let's call it in the top 10. The day that the daylight saving, and I looked it up, it's daylight saving. It's not daylight savings. It's daylight saving. I looked up the whole history of daylight saving time. Number one, we're on the same time frame as Arizona. Not that that matters, but I actually showed up an hour late for a show in the 90s because I lived in Miami and I had moved to California and I was booked in Tucson and I didn't know that there was an hour difference. And there you have it. So tonight, anticipating that I'd have a full hour. Now, the problem is that I also knew that I was going to get an hour less sleep and I had a full day today. So this is the happiest face because there's something about that day. Then there's a couple other reasons why I'm going to tell you why I feel like busting out into song like Pharrell, 'cause I'm happy. I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I'm happy. Number one is because I feel as if there's in my industry, there's been this giant that went to sleep and went into hibernation and nothing got done and everything ground down to a halt. And people that I adored were heartbroken because they had projects that were on the edge of being produced. And then there's lockdown and then stuff just stopped happening and projects were shelved. And over the time of being shelved, it gave people time to rethink and say, well, on the other side of this, do people really want to see this show? And things have not been done. And so there were a lot of people that were struggling. Here's the secret of why I'm always happy is because when things aren't going well for the world, they go great for comedians. My career exploded after 9/11. I ended up on the radio and off the road and performing at a very high level. And then I got Latin Divas and then I got the other, and it just kept going because people want comedy. So even though I was in an audience-based business and I was extremely frightened as contracts were rescinded and comedy clubs were shuttered and some of them aren't going to come back, then I pivoted to Zoom and I started the 330 and I figured out how to grow social media. Like everything is figure outable. So in the last year, it's been like getting a master's in Monique. I've had a whole year to study everything I'm not good at without judgment or recrimination, all by my lonesome, with nobody looking at me to make me feel ashamed that I have to look up the most rudimentary things on YouTube or Google, but there's nothing you can't figure out with enough Google searches and changing the words around and going on YouTube. So it's been a year of educating and getting caught up with things that I was terrified of that now are like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And then I created this amazing group of people. I just said like, we're going to do this. And 300 and I don't even know how many days later, we're still doing it. I don't even know what number today's 340 plus 13. I think I'm on day 350 of going live when I was only going to go live 40 days on Facebook, like the flood, like a biblical flood. And I've created this community around this live that have become my family. And actually today I was so happy to just now see Martina, 5 more subscribers puts me over 5,000. See, that's a thing. I was getting literally millions of views on Facebook and YouTube of other people posting my comedy. And producer Stanton, took me by my clammy little frightened hand and said, why don't we build you a YouTube channel and you can start getting credit for your own things? And I was like, that would be nice. And here we are, 5 people away from 5,000 subscribers. Yes. Another reason, happiest girl, daylight saving time. And then this afternoon, my 3:30 was, I don't want to say a little bit cranky, but it was a little bit, I think I was a little bit surprised at how many people were not getting how blessed we are in so many ways to just having to endure, you know, COVID. And I guess part of it is because I've been performing at senior citizen centers and maybe because they've been vaccinated or whatever. I told you guys last week that I performed in a place with the cowbells, and then this Friday I was at a place called the Vineyards, an over 55 community in Northern California, and there's some elderly people. And prior to that, I do stuff for this ship called the USS Rainier that's been decommissioned, and they don't have any World War II guys left. But when I started performing for the crew of the USS Rainier about 9 years ago, we actually had some World War II veterans. And I think about what my grandparents, my mom was born in 1942, the summer of 42. When I think about what people had to endure, 2 generations ago, or even the Vietnam War, or even 9/11, which is at this point going to be 20 years ago, I think, okay, this is not fun, but we're in our homes. And for the most part, unless you're in Texas, we're warm and the lights are on. And, we're not enduring a war or the worst kind of war, like World War I, that movie 1917 with the trench warfare and the mustard gas. Like, no, we're being told to put on our sweatpants and stay home. And now all of a sudden, as I was saying, in my industry, I feel this sleeping giant waking up under my feet. I can feel it energetically. I hear it. I hear the pervasive chatter. As a comedian, I spy. There's always a pervasive chatter. And I want us to remember how blessed we are that we're getting to the other side of this and not lose the benefits, because there were benefits, and not just for me. I'm certain of that. I'm certain that, people are rebellious by nature. So when you tell people they can't do something, they really, really want to do it. So the more people get vaccinated, the more hugs will return, the more warm embraces and handshakes, even if you shake hands and then do the antibacterial, the more the performing arts are going to be revered. Think how you're going to feel the first time you walk back in a movie theater. I'm excited. I hardly went to the movies before COVID. I streamed everything. But there is a part of me that's like, I think the last movie I saw in a theater was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was well before lockdown. That was summer of 2019. How much am I going to love walking into a movie theater and smelling movie theater popcorn? El Capitan, right on Hollywood Boulevard. So going full circle, what I was talking about earlier at 3:30 today, I think I was a little bit cranky because I could hear in my building, and I live in a very nice building, I could hear the pervasive chatter of, oh, it's been a year. It's so inconvenient to have to make an appointment to go to the gym, which we have to do. But you know what? I'm grateful, because last Sunday, I had to go down to the lobby because you weren't able to sign up, by texting. You got to go down to the lobby, wait in line at 12 noon. They open up the bookings. There's X amount of slots. You're allowed to book 3 hours. And the fact that I set an alarm, went downstairs and got 3 slots, and the times weren't great on all of them, but they were pretty good. Today, I had the 4 o'clock gym slot. And after driving almost 1,000 miles since Friday morning, all the way up to Northern California, and then over to San Francisco, and then all the way down. And I hit a show in Santa Paula last night on my way down. And there's something so satisfying about hitting all your marks, getting there on time, getting, boom, 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 and having a good show. And then today I was just kind of dead on the couch. I picked my mother up in San Francisco and brought her with me. And she said, you could miss the gym. It's okay. But I thought, no, I waited to book this appointment. It's 4 o'clock. And at 3:20, I was just dragging my wagon. And at 3:30, I did the 3:30. And maybe I was even a little bit cranky. And I saw that Martina, my friend, is watching me now. And Martina, I'm sorry that I scolded you a little bit. I did. I'm apologizing in a public forum because she voiced an opinion about the governor of California, and I reminded her that the 3:30 is a little bit of a safe space where people always say that they're very comfortable there because we don't talk politics. There's a difference between being a patriot and being political. My if you want to call it, my brand is not political, but it's not even about a brand. I'm not a political person. I don't let people badmouth either side because to me, it's a little bit like being a fan, like a fanatic in the truest sense of the word fan. I've never been the person that's been a fan of something to the degree that I exclude people that either A, don't like it, or B, maybe have sort of ruined it. Producer Stanton and I have very long conversations. I hope I'm allowed to say this, Producer Stanton, in public. He is very invested in the Star Wars franchise and he's aware of it. Like, I love Star Wars, but I don't know enough about how they've screwed it up. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know because of Producer Stanton that evidently it's some woman named Kathleen has really tished the Deb. But just reverse that and you'll know what I mean. See, he's laughing. And there's evidently entire websites and forums dedicated to, I think it's called Phantom Menace. There's entire websites dedicated to discussing how something that was once in our minds, so perfect and nostalgic and done, Fandom Menace, thank you, has been altered in a way. All I knew was that when I saw The Last Jedi, it was bad enough to be porn. It was just bad. It was bad acting. It was bad writing. It was like, ugh. I was just waiting for the pizza delivery boy to show up and go like, who ordered a big pepperoni? So I've never been that invested that I felt like if you don't like my team, whatever my team is, I'm going to have a problem with you. I'm just not that person. The people that are close to me that I know on a personal level, I've never had lunch with Donald Trump or Gavin Newsom, but I have had lunch with Tina. And it was a lovely, lovely lunch. It was barbecue. So what I'm saying in full circle, and in case you're wondering, is Monique always like this? No, I'm very hyper because of the fact that I was dead and just tired of driving and performing. And I made myself do the hard thing. See, that's what the human spirit feeds on, like the most delicious cheese strudel with the most perfect cup of coffee, is meeting a challenge, facing it, meeting it, overcoming it. And I challenged myself today. And I had my phone in my hand to text the front desk that I was going to forfeit my 4 o'clock because I've actually seen the emails pop up that say there's a gym spot available at such and such time, blah, blah, blah. And then 1 second later, gym spot filled. So I knew it would get filled and I knew it wouldn't get wasted, but I had made the effort to secure that spot. And I went up to the gym and I was dragging my wagon until I got on the machine, the full range of motion. It's not the elliptical. It's another one where the pedals go up and down. And it's called a full range of motion. And it's hard. And once I got on it, the hard part was just getting on it. Then I was off. And it's that way about everything. It was that way about getting on YouTube and on Facebook and on all of the other things that are happening. We are designed to meet and best challenges. And this has been such an enormous challenge. And I know that so many people have little victories or maybe big victories, maybe just filling out the unemployment online if you're not a tech savvy person. Just, I'm wearing my dress backwards. Producer Stanton was like, "What's that tag?" It's because I like this neckline better than the V for the, but I digress. I just noticed it was popped up. But what I'm saying is that sometimes just having to fill out hard paperwork just so you can get something that you need, or waking up early because you're a certain age and you were like, darn it, I'm going to take advantage of those early shopping hours because I want that soft, big, fluffy toilet paper. But I can tell you that as I feel the ground grumbling under me and the days are getting longer, and I had 2 shows this weekend in front of real people in chairs. Now, granted, they were outside and I was very cold, very cold. Last night I wasn't freezing, but I was cold. And the night before I was pretty chilled. But even still, my heart was warm. And as here in Los Angeles, supposedly we're going into red tier, and supposedly we're going to be able to eat indoors at, whatever the capacity is, 25%, whatever. I just had a wonderful meal with a girlfriend on Santa Monica Boulevard, and they had heaters and tents. And yes, it was cold, but I was warm. A, I had thermal inertia from my workout, and B, I was warmed by knowing that even if Tina didn't show up tonight, I was going to send her a message and say, I hope you understand that I'm preserving that space for everyone to feel safe and important, and like their team is important to all of us. Now, it's funny because I have my other phone, which is where I text myself stories, because even though this is, 44 and a half, I still do stories. So let's follow up on the Pope made it back from Iraq, and he's fine, and he's the Pope. And Prince Philip is still alive, which he's 99. And the Queen has actually addressed the interview and has done it, as always, as the Queen does, with very few words and a lot of space for interpretation. By the way, I'm here to say officially, as an American, born and raised, even though I'm of Latina extraction, that I'm just going to say it. I'm a monarchist. I am. I love the Queen, but I love the Queen the same way I love Disney World. She's a tourist attraction. She represents something. She's Mickey Mouse in a tiara. And I mean that in the most complimentary way, because I get what it's supposed to be. And I want to address, and I'm not the person, again, not my brand. I want to address, people keep saying, did you see the interview? Did you see the interview? No, I didn't. I'm not interested in the interview. I'm not interested in Meghan Markle whatsoever. Couldn't care less. And for the record, although I'm a huge fan of Oprah, there's been a couple of times where she's done things where I've been like, like, taking digs at the Queen while her husband, the love of her life, is, not doing so well. I talked about this a little bit last Saturday night, but the chatter continues. The chatter continues, and they're wrapping sort of themselves around the axle of race. And it's like, the timing's a little bit unfortunate. And that, number one, as a grandparent, I can tell you this from being Latina, and I'm very fair, that we have all range of people in my family. And sometimes it's just a curiosity. I'm going to step out and say something that could end up getting me in hot water, and especially in cancel culture and everybody having to be PC, as the kids say, AF. I am not PC AF. My brother is an architect, and he married a girl who is 100% Chinese, from China, from Wuhan to be exact. And my niece is technically mixed race. She's Latina, Chinese. And my brother, we have all kinds of mutts in our family. And I'm not even going to take a me 23 because it could end up being, grandma lied. I mean, who knows? I don't know what's going to show up. I know I have a half brother, illegitimate half brother. And he covers all the bases because he's Irish, Latino, and gay. So how awesome is that? Talk about checking boxes. But my niece has before she was born was an object of curiosity to us because we wondered, is she going to be Latino, olive complected, Asian? What are her eyes going to look like? We were just curious. It had nothing to do with racism. It was flat out curiosity for the love of a child. And I'm going to go out on a limb and extend the courtesy to the Queen that just maybe any conversations that were had about Meghan and Harry's child could have been in the very same vein as the conversations that we had within my own family about my own niece, who, by the way, is ridiculously cute, the best of every possible gene pool that she's tipped her tiny little toe in. And I'm not going to lie to you, she looks a little bit like I did as a child. Really, really cute. So I want to circle back around to the fact that as my world opens back up, I'm going to continue to do the 3:30 and I'm going to continue to do this live stream. And if Saturday night becomes prime comedy night, just like it did when I was on KFI doing my radio show, well, unlike KFI where I had to pre-record because I had a set time slot, maybe Sunday becomes the new live stream. We'll play along as it goes. But as the world around me continues to expand and change and grow in this post-COVID paradigm, one of the things that the takeaway of me is that I feel like a certified pre-owned car, and that I've been locked up for a year. You know, pardon my French, but I'm pretty sure my hymen's grown back. I'm probably a virgin. And as many of you know, I took the time to have my 30-year implants traded out. I got the tires retread. So, you know, I was born in the 60s, but my boobs aren't even a year old. So I'm like a certified pre-owned luxury car. Whoever gets me next is getting a good model. And my brain is very pure because I dedicated this year to learning how to ask people to subscribe, like, and tap. You see how I did that, Stanton? You see how I worked in your instructions into the narrative seamlessly? So I learned how to do all of these things. And all of the people that call me and say, did you watch the interview? Have you seen the Woody Allen thing? Did you binge watch? No. I don't need to know what happened with Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. I know enough to know that I was alive. You know, I was already a comedian when the scandal broke. And every comedian, if you want to know what's going on in the news, go to comedy clubs. That's what comedians do. We make sport of the difficult, which is why I have a year's worth of new material writing about these very challenges. And I was so excited to be able to do it in front of people over the last couple of weekends, even if last Saturday was in front of parked cars with cowbells in them. But Friday night and Saturday night were extremely energizing because the new material is going over like gangbusters. And now I've been approached to potentially create this new thing, and I want your opinion on it, which is sort of a docu special, which is a comedy special, but instead of having this straight up old school like me on stage pacing, it's some voiceover comedy, a little bit of me on stage, and the backstory of where the jokes came from. You know, the fact that one of my new bits is that nobody can be a snob during COVID. You can't be a snob. You can't be a snob in a mask hunting and you know, being like a raccoon looking for toilet paper and produce. You know, it knocked the snob, or even a food snob. I jokingly said, I don't care who you are or how refined your palate is. During lockdown, if you found out there was like a speakeasy, like there's a restaurant open in the valley and you can eat on the patio, you know, it's like, you don't care. You don't care if it's, you know, a Bennigan's. You don't, if it's a TGI Friday in the valley, you're going to show up and say, the password is potato skins. Because that's what this year did. It washed away a lot of the extraneous, and it made us value things, not just going into the movie theater and smelling popcorn, but pulling our friends closer to us around a metaphorical campfire on Zoom, like my friend Tina And obviously, I didn't really know Hector Baez before this. Evidently, he knew me. He listened to me on KFI, and now he's running Zoom beta tests so that we can start meeting in all different, more personal ways. It's exciting. The days are longer, and we are, as people, are stronger. I can hear that song, Ventura Highway, where the days are longer, the nights are stronger. One of my favorite songs ever, Ventura Highway. I like the chorus. I know, whoa, whoa. And now when I say that, it's like, I know YouTube. I know you. I know how to, I know how to go live on Facebook. I'm figuring out how to edit film. I'm going to do stuff on Instagram. I'm getting there. It's exciting. And this is going to be the best spring ever, because it's the spring that we're springing out of the longest, most difficult, in some ways, emotionally taxing. Forget finances. We're all going to figure it out. A lot of us have lost a lot of money and things, but I stick by what I've said my whole life, which is a problem. Maybe that's because the problems that I had that started in my childhood had nothing to do with money and things. Although, oh, you love when I sing? Oh, well, thank you. I think it's because even though I'm not good at it, I really enjoy it. So you feel the passion, you feel it. But the point I was going to say is that, a problem that can be fixed by writing a check is not a problem. Whether it's unemployment, stimulus, you're working for DoorDash, you've taken out a small business loan, your family's kept you afloat, you sold your house, driving to and from Northern California. I saw a lot of people with what I call their babies out on the lawn, their toys. There's boats for sale and vintage cars and all kinds. I'm grateful that I haven't had to sell anything I loved to get through these times. Not the least of which is my ass or my soul. I didn't have to sell either one of those. If I sound excited, it's because I am. If I sound happy, it's because I am. If I sound grateful, it's because I am. If I sound like there's an enormous amount of creativity welling up inside of me that's been bottled, for this year, it's exciting to know how things are going to manifest next. And I had dinner with somebody, a friend, not long ago. I'm trying to remember who, because I've been having social distance dinners with my friends. I was keeping to myself, but now that my mother's vaccinated, I'm not nearly as concerned, because my mom's the person that I was the most worried about. And my friend kept saying, I want to know what's next. I think I'd feel better if I knew what was next with their specific field, with their job. And maybe because I've been a comedian, I quit my day job in the summer of '93. So this summer will be 28 years that I've literally lived by my wits. I mean, literally. And by definition, all artists are entrepreneurs, whether it's producer Stanton, which I met through a friend of a friend who had 6 side hustles, and I met him on one of his hustles. And whether it's, when you're an artist or a creative, by definition, you're an entrepreneur, whether you want to be or not. Or if you're a bad business person, you can be a very good artist and a bad business person, and you don't live in financial abundance, but you live surrounded by spiritual currency, by good energy, by the joy of doing what it is you want to do. Hello, Big J from Dallas. I love seeing your names pop up. Producer Stanton doesn't inundate me by posting everything in the chat, but I do get to see some of it, and it makes me very happy, like seeing Martina's name at the very beginning, and Hector's, of course. So as I'm overjoyed, I'm not even over-caffeinated. As I'm sitting here, and I'm, when I do sort of the 44 and a half, it's not the full hour. Oh, but I did want to follow up on a couple of the stories, which is, number one, I have not watched the interview, but number two, I'm thrilled that Prince Philip is still alive, and that the Pope made it back from his mission alive, that he's actually walking the walk, and how exciting is that? I've been following this story about this dog, Ethan, who was sort of a Great Dane slash pit bull mix. And here's Ethan. And when I first started the story, he was 80 pounds underweight, and somebody had basically dumped him in the parking lot of the Humane Society in Louisville, Kentucky. And then it says Ethan the dog celebrates reaching his goal weight by reuniting with the family that saved him. He went from 32 pounds, a Great Dane, 32 pounds, to 80. And the people that found him in the parking lot at the Kentucky Humane Society have adopted him. And the last we heard of Ethan is that he is perfectly in good health, back to normal Great Dane. Like, boom, like this story happened 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, this dog was on death's door, dumped in a parking lot, barely alive. 6 weeks later, he's like chubby, tail wagging in his forever home. That's how fast things can happen if everything is in alignment. There's and I just, this is a little bit morbid, but hey, every once in a while, I've got to get out of my character paradigm. California's I-5 strangler, Roger Kibbe, was strangled to death, autopsy shows. I'm sorry. I know that's dark. I know it's slightly bad juju. But the fact that Roger Reese Kibbe, who was known as the I-5 strangler in the 1970s and 80s, was spotted unresponsive last Sunday in his cell at Mule Creek State Prison. His 40-year-old cellmate was standing nearby. Like, what are you going to do to a guy who's already got like a life sentence, who decided, you know what, you're annoying me? The I-5 strangler was 81 years old. And here's the kicker of the story. No charges have been filed in connection with his death. Because what are they going to do? What, are they going to put his cellmate on trial? Of course he did it. He's the only one in a locked cell. And even if he confesses, so what? He's, as far as I'm concerned, that's we don't have to feed him anymore. He's dispatched back to over there, and he can come back in another lifetime and make it up. Maybe in his next lifetime, he's going to be a waitress in a Waffle House on I-4 in Central Florida, and his whole life is just going to be, you know, smelling rancid hash browns and Windex. I've got to tell you, it's been many, many, many years since I've eaten at a Waffle House on the I-4. It was one of those things when I was a kid that whenever we went to Disney World, we would go to the Waffle House on I-4, and you'd sit in a booth, because the restaurant's set up that it's just a row of booths so that you can watch them cook. They're long, skinny restaurants, and then you can watch them cook, the short order cook, and then they put the plate just like over the partition onto the, you know, onto your seat. And when you walk in, they say hello or good morning, like that. The staff greets everybody that walks in, sort of like me. And then you order your food and then you get it. But I used to always feel very bad for those waitresses, because I'm like, you got to say hello all day and your hair smells like potatoes. Like, if you're in there up against the short order cook, your hair is going to smell like potatoes forever. You're never going to get that potato out of your beehive. All right, I feel like I've gone on enough. But I just wanted to share my exuberance with you. I just wanted, oh, what? Somebody said something about the Waffle House? Shout out to the Waffle House. You know it. Hey, as a road comic, Waffle House, Cracker Barrel, back in the day, Stuckey's with the pecan roll. I know all about road trips, starting as a child and through my career. And maybe that's why I didn't mind this weekend, because it harkened to a time in my life where, you get roads, there's rules. You get your road snacks. You don't bring stuff from home. That ruins it. You get Rice Krispie treats and a Diet Cherry Coke, and you don't open them on the on-ramp. You wait till you're fully going and on cruise control. There's rules. I'm so grateful that you guys showed up for this little short edition of the super happy spring is springin' after the COVID besting our, meeting our challenges, making my 4 o'clock, hitting all my marks, having 2 good shows in front of real people, knowing that restaurants are going to open potentially on Monday. And 2 weeks from this weekend, from last night and Friday, I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, a suburb of Phoenix, at a place called Stir Crazy. And I believe there's even going to be people coming out from Los Angeles wagon training out there. So this is the face of joy. Memorize this face. But next Saturday I'm home, and we're going to do the show as usual. And just because I don't want that bad juju lingering, let me just put it out there that I do believe in forgiveness. Obviously, I'm going to be saying it in a few moments. I do believe in do-overs and in reincarnation, and whatever Roger Rees Kibbe did in this lifetime as the I-5 strangler, it might take him many lifetimes to redeem himself, but I do believe that he'll have the opportunity. I think that's how it works. You get do-overs until you go from the I-5 strangler, waitress at Waffle House, used car salesman who actually cares, tries to put people in cars that they can afford, that aren't going to break down. Like there's, those odd, difficult, strenuous, swimming against the tide jobs. And at some point, he'll be washed clean. I'm very, very excited. And I'll see you next Saturday night. And until then, love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can. Good night, guys. See you next Saturday night like usual. It's been a pleasure.